On February 27th, 2019, Uncle Dane released a video titled Engineer's Best Weapon. While I do agree with a few points that he made on the Wrangler, and the production value was certainly high, like a majority of his videos, there is one area that me and Dane can't agree in though. One area that I'm sure that a lot of you also find it hard to agree with as well. That area being what should happen to the Wrangler's shield, the most controversial part of the weapon. For those of you who didn't watch this video or Uncle Dane's, there is a certain aspect of the Wrangler that changes it from a way to tank your sentry and turns it into a cheap bullet sponge. With any sentry that is bubbled up by the Wrangler having essentially triple the health, taking a level 3's 216 health to 648 with the shield of the Wrangler out. This obviously is really one-sided to the engineer, as all the guy has to do is whip out the Wrangler and the sentry has triple the health. With Uncle Dane's video, he suggests that the Wrangler shield should either be moved onto the engineer himself, or to completely remove the shield and focus on the slight aim assist the weapon gives, or sentry jumping. While both of these can sound like a good idea to somebody who doesn't understand the technicals or the bigger picture of engineer secondaries, there are better fixes. What I mean by bigger picture is what engineer secondaries offer to you. All three of engineer secondaries offer both an offensive and defensive way to work and help you. The pistol manages to be a self-defense tool, being the closest thing to keeping an engineer alive aside from his or her shotgun. The weapon can kill people, but also prove to be a heavy-hitting hit-scan weapon if all pellets hit, which a lot of people won't really fight if they can't get up and kill the engineer, giving the hard hat a reasonable defensive tool, albeit self-defensive. Then the short circuit offers up some good defense in the form of the orbs it fires. The orbs themselves destroy any projectile that comes in contact with it at the cost of 65 metal. That on its own can be really helpful by allowing you to continue building and not letting rockets and stickies destroy your stuff, but it also manages to have an offensive taste to it, allowing the engineer to destroy spam, allowing his team to move up and deal with the enemy team. But then there's the Wrangler. Much like the other two secondaries, the weapon holds both offense and defense in the same package. It just so happens that the defensive part is a little too good. While the Wrangler's firing speed bonus is good and allows the engineer to rip through people easily, it's the shield that leaves the weapon at a higher power than other secondaries. That is where the fixes need to come. Dane's fixes appear on paper to look like they have some chance to work, but both ideas appear to just neuter what defensive capability the weapon has. Removing the shield will certainly do this, as the wrangled sentry won't have any resistance and actually hinders the engineer, making his gun have no real way to stand up to a big crowd aside from faster firing. Completely removing the defensive capabilities to a defense class's weapon isn't the way to go. Nor is it good to put it on the engineer himself. At that point, it just teaches engineers bad habits and shows no real defensive advantage, as you can still get headshot or backstabbed. In order to fix the shield on the Wrangler, we must look to other games and see how their shields work out, and then go on from there, not completely remove it or slap it onto something else. Let's take two examples in the form of Overwatch and the Borderlands series. Starting with a certain German beast of a man, we have Reinhardt.
Hello!
Rein's main selling point is that he is an amazing tank character, housing good health on his own, but also having a shield for his team that can soak up damage and allow for good cover. Then, all the way on the planet of Pandora, is a staple of the Borderlands series, the shields. It acts like a secondary health bar until it's completely depleted, and then the damage will start going to your health. And that's just the thing. Out of all three of these shields, two of them share a similar stat with each other that doesn't make them broken as all hell. Those two shields are Rein's shield and the shields on Pandora. Why? Because they can break. Not only break, but they also come back after a few seconds fully recharged. This is where my first suggestion comes in, ladies and gentlemen. The simplest way to not destroy the Wrangler and have the shield work is to simply give it a durability meter. Let's say this. The Wrangler starts off with 350 HP, bumping up the sentry's health to 556 at level 3 and 450 to a mini sentry. However, after people start damaging it, the shields will go down. If it reaches 0 shields, the shield will shatter, freezing the gun for a half second, and the shield will not return for a good 10 seconds. And to make sure that the gun cannot just be smacked to health while wrangled, the gun will not receive any shields until it's unwrangled. minimizing the possibility of people stacking Engineer to have a sentry stay up longer than it should. Every other stat can stay the same, but if one is to make a shield work, you must make it shatter after a certain threshold of damage. Real shields don't last forever, they take damage and they break. Unless of course you're the Demo Knight. But if such a complex system were not to be added to a weapon, there is another way that can just as easily punish the Engineer. Simply put, when a sentry is under the effects of the Wrangler, and when it gets unwrangled, it has to go through a 3-second period where it becomes inactive while it unwrangles. Another simpler alternative is just to have that same inactivity happen before it gets wrangled, except half the time, at 1.5 seconds. Not only would this give the enemy team a small window to attack the Engineer's stuff before his shields go up, but it also will teach the Engineer to prepare for a threat, but also punishes an Engie for being too careless. While both of these ideas have their flaws, these seem a lot more reasonable to keeping the Wrangler's image of taking defense and offense at a good balance and making sure that Engineer can use it properly, and not having the shield turn the gun into something invincible. But anyways, there was my spin on something that's kinda busted. Hopefully you enjoyed, and maybe we'll be able to have a world where the Wrangler isn't entirely overpowered. Take care, and thanks for listening.